My name is Preacher. I'm 80 years old, and I am going to tell you something right now that I want you to stay with, even if your first reaction is to click away. The numbers I am going to give you are not lottery numbers. They are not a code or a sequence or a pattern discovered through spiritual practice that will improve your odds. Your odds in a lottery are determined by mathematics, and mathematics does not respond to what is written on your hand or in your heart or anywhere else. Any promise to the contrary is not a spiritual teaching. It is a manipulation of hope, and you deserve better than that. But here is why I am still going to give you numbers, real ones. Numbers that actually matter in a way that lottery numbers never could. Numbers that, when you genuinely understand what they represent, and when you begin to let them change how you think about your financial life, will do something that no winning ticket has ever done for anyone who bought one hoping it would solve the underlying problem. These numbers will give you a more honest relationship with the actual architecture of your financial reality. And that honest relationship, built slowly and maintained consistently, is the only thing I have ever seen produce genuine and lasting financial change in a human life. I was born in northern Thailand into circumstances that were materially modest in ways that shaped my understanding of money from the very beginning. There was never a sense that money was abundant or that financial ease was the expected condition of life. And I understand, from the inside of that experience, why the lottery feels like a legitimate hope. When the gap between where you are and where you need to be feels very large, the idea of something that could close that gap suddenly and completely is genuinely appealing. I do not dismiss that appeal. I lived inside it for real years of my real life. What I learned, however, is that the lottery is not actually addressing the gap it appears to address. The gap it appears to address is financial. The gap it is actually addressing, or trying to address, is a felt sense of inadequacy and uncertainty about the future. And those two gaps require completely different responses. The financial gap responds to specific, consistent, honest financial practices. The felt sense of inadequacy and uncertainty responds to inner work that is available right now, regardless of what your financial situation is. The lottery addresses neither, except temporarily and unreliably. And the temporary, unreliable addressing of neither does not produce the change most people who play it are actually looking for. Now, the numbers. I am going to give you 4 of them, and I want you to write them down not on your hand, but somewhere you will actually see them regularly. Because these 4 numbers, understood and worked with consistently, are the closest thing to a real financial ritual that I have ever encountered in 8 decades of honest living. The first number is 100, as in 100% of what you earn must be accounted for. Not managed perfectly, not optimized, accounted for. This means you know what comes in, you know what goes out. You know, with reasonable clarity, where the money that passes through your life actually goes. Most people who are genuinely struggling financially do not have this clarity. They have a vague sense. They have a general impression. They have a feeling about whether the month was good or bad, but they do not have the clear and honest accounting that makes intentional decision-making possible. Without that clarity, every financial decision is made in a kind of fog, and fog produces accidents, not outcomes. The practice of accounting for 100% of what you earn is not exciting. It does not feel like magic, but it is the foundation without which every other financial practice sits on unstable ground. The second number is 10, as in, before you spend anything else, set aside at least 10% of what you earn for your future self. Not for investment in the sophisticated sense, not for a complicated financial strategy, simply for the practice of your present self, taking care of your future self consistently and first. This practice has a psychological dimension that is as important as its financial dimension. When you consistently put something aside before everything else, you are repeatedly demonstrating to yourself that your future matters, that you are someone who takes care of what is coming, that the relationship between your present self and your future self is one of genuine concern rather than avoidance. That demonstration, made again and again across months and years, changes something in how you relate to your own financial life, in ways that eventually change the financial life itself. And here's what I didn't understand then. The amount matters less than the consistency. 10% of a modest income set aside consistently over years produces something real, not a lottery win, something better than a lottery win, something that you built, something that reflects a quality of your character rather than a statistical accident, something that, when you look at it, produces a kind of self-respect that no external windfall can manufacture. The third number is 3, as in, before you make any financial decision that is not a basic necessity, wait 3 days. Not forever, 3 days. This practice is specifically for the purchases, the investments, the opportunities that appear with urgency, and with the feeling that if you do not act right now, the moment will be lost. That urgency is almost always manufactured, either by the seller who benefits from your immediate action, or by the part of your own psychology that has learned to confuse emotional response with genuine desire. 3 days almost always survives genuine desire. It rarely survives manufactured urgency. And the distinction between those two, made consistently, saves an amount of money that over time is significant. The fourth number is 1. As in every year, identify the one thing you could change about how you relate to money that would have the largest positive effect on your financial life. Not the 20 things, not the comprehensive overhaul, the one thing. This practice of identifying the single highest leverage change and focusing on it with genuine consistency is something I observed very clearly in the lives of people who made genuine financial progress. They were not people who changed everything at once. They were people who changed one thing thoroughly, watched what that produced, and then identified the next one thing. That sequential focus, unglamorous as it is, compounds in the same way that money compounds. Slowly, then unmistakably. You know what surprised me most when I began to understand money in this way? how much of my previous relationship with it had been driven by feelings rather than by clear seeing. I had feelings about money, strong ones, about what it meant and what not having it meant, and what having it would mean. And those feelings were shaping every financial decision I made in ways I could not fully see, because the feelings were inside the same system that was doing the seeing. When I began to look at money more clearly, more factually, more honestly, some of those feelings began to lose their grip. Not all of them, not immediately, but enough that the decisions I was making began to come from somewhere more considered and less reactive. And more considered and less reactive decisions, made consistently over time, produced genuinely different outcomes. What most people don't realize is that the lottery mentality, the belief that the right external event will solve the internal problem, is not limited to lottery tickets. It is present in every get-rich-quick scheme, in every investment that promises returns that cannot be honestly justified, in every business opportunity that leads with the potential upside and buries the realistic downside. The lottery mentality says that somewhere out there is the thing that will finally make the gap close without requiring what closing the gap actually requires. And that mentality, however understandable its origins, is the thing most reliably standing between most people and the financial life they genuinely want. The 4 numbers are the antidote to the lottery mentality, not because they are magical, because they are honest, because they represent a relationship with money that is built on clarity rather than hope, on consistency rather than luck, on self-knowledge rather than the belief that the right external event will arrive to solve what only internal change can genuinely address. 100% accounted for. 10% to your future self before anything else. 3 days before any non-essential financial decision. 1 change per year, identified clearly and pursued thoroughly. These 4 numbers, worked with genuinely across the ordinary days of your real life, will do more for your financial reality than any lottery ticket you have ever held or will ever hold. Not because they are secret, because they are true. And the truth applied consistently is the only thing that has ever genuinely changed anything that actually needed changing. At 80 years old, I look at my financial life with something close to peace. Not because I accumulated great wealth, I did not, but because the relationship between me and my own financial life is honest and clear, and not shadowed by the particular anxiety that comes from avoidance, and from the desperate hope that something external will arrive to solve what only I can solve. That peace, that honest clarity, is something I would not trade for a lottery win, because a lottery win would not have given it to me. Only the work of seeing clearly and choosing consistently could give it, and it did, slowly, ordinarily, without drama. The way every genuinely good thing in a human life is actually built. Tell me in the comments which of these 4 numbers feels most challenging for you to actually implement in your real life right now. Not which one sounds most important, which one feels hardest. Because the one that feels hardest is almost always the one that would make the most difference. And if this message gave you something honest to work with, stay close to this space. Because financial clarity is not built in one message. It is built in the daily practice of returning to honest seeing, one ordinary day at a time.